Welcome to Into the Pages, where we get into interesting books and share our thoughts and ideas and theories and all that fun stuff. In this episode, we're going to be finishing up The Sunlit Man. We're starting on chapter 50 and just going to go right through the end. This is kind of bittersweet. It's kind of. Because the year of Sanderson for us is finally over. We took a little longer than most people probably did, but this is kind of sad. Like, this year has been a lot of fun. We started this podcast, got 5 books from Brandon this year, which was awesome. And now we got to go back to regular life, getting 1 book a year.
Oh, what was this?
Right.
Brandon spoiled us, and now we're gonna think he
Right?
Writes, now we're gonna think he writes just as slow as George R.R. Martin.
Oh my gosh.
Just kidding. And Patrick Rothfuss. Did you see Patrick Rothfuss? I think it just came out, but he just wrote another book and just.
Oh really? Was it not?
Yeah, it's
wasn't?
King Killer Chronicles 2.6.
Oh my heck. Why doesn't he just write the third one for crap's sake? That's the second one he's released. That's been. Because what was the? There was some other smaller one.
Yeah, there's Name of Wind. Then there's Wise Man. No. Wise Man Fear is Name of the Wind. Oh, it's been so long. I think it's Name of the Wind, Wise Man's Fear,
Right.
and The Slow Regard of Silent Things. It was 2.5 and then 2.6. I don't remember the name of it. But it's all about. I read the back or whatever it is, whatever that's called. That's on the back of a book, and apparently it's all about Bast, which might be interesting.
I don't even remember the name of the characters, except for
Bast is the dude that's helping Kvothe in the inn. So like when Kvothe is
he's
old,
like the
he's like
scribe or
he's
the
like
preacher or whatever.
No, not the scribe. The guy that's like there. He's like it almost seems like he's like a fae or something.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about him. That series makes me sad because I read The Name of the Wind and I was blown away. It was so good. But I can't get myself to read Wise Man's Fear because it's like I don't want to read this awesome book and then where's the third one?
Imagine how I felt. I've read both books twice. And Slow Regard of Silent Things, and I might read this one too. But
I'll read it if he sends me a personal letter saying that he will finish the third book or give me all of his money until he starves and dies. then I'll read the next one.
anyway, hopefully they'll be finished. I guess we'll see. But at least we have Stormlight 5 to look forward to.
Yeah, thank goodness. I am grateful for that. Brandon is going to take forever to release some books sometimes just because he like skips around. But at least he writes his books and gets them out done.
Sunlit Man, the end. Last 3 chapters. I guess technically last 2 chapters and epilogue, or is it 3 then epilogue?
It's just 2. We got 50, 51, and epilogue.
No, it's 50, 51, 52 epilogue. So technically 4. We're covering 4 chapters today.
Did I skip a chapter?
I don't know. 50, 51, 52 epilogue. So we're back at Elegy's perspective. So it's kind of like a meanwhile moment because there's like a battle going on between the Cinder King.
Brandon decided to give us a little cliffhanger for 49 and like, oh no, it almost felt like one of those old like 90s cartoons for me. Like, oh no, Zellion is getting beat up. Whatever will he do? Da da da. Commercial.
That's exactly what it feels like. It feels like that whenever an author does this, when they build up to like a cliffhanger and then they go to another character and then build that character up to a cliffhanger and then go back to the character that used to have a cliffhanger and go there and it's like.
Yeah. Do you remember those books we read forever ago by somebody, DJ something or other? It was the Pendragon books.
Oh yeah, DJ Hale, I think.
DJ Hale, yeah. And like, I remember in the first few books, it was like you get to a crazy part with the main character, the guy who like travels to different worlds and stuff. And then go back to his friends who are reading the letters he sends back, and you're like, why? Who cares about these people? But then, like, eventually it got to a point where, like, even reading them was interesting. You're like, well, I don't want to go back. Like, the back and forth is murder.
Oh, Christopher Paolini does that same thing, I swear.
Yeah, holy crap.
Once we start reading about Aragon's brother, I forget its name.
Roran.
Whenever it switches between Aragon and Roran. At first, I'm like, oh, you son of a villager. I don't want to listen to your story.
Yeah.
And the Razak attack, and you're like, okay, go on.
Yeah. Oh, man. Luckily, the new book, Murtagh. It's only about Murtagh, so
No other character. Have you finished it yet?
now I'm like halfway through.
Elegy. So I think Elegy's finally reached. It happened pretty quickly, which I don't know. I kind of liked it. Like, it felt natural and good. Like, it happened. Her growth. I'm talking about her growth happened quickly, but it didn't feel like Brandon was just like making her grow so that she would grow. Like, it felt natural to me.
Yeah, same.
Because even though she's growing, she's still different. She's not like all of a sudden cured. She's not all of a sudden like totally different, but she's just had so many things thrown at her that she's just kind of rapid fire grown, but in a way that I thought was realistic. But usually when you have a character change as much as she does, which is essentially from crazy bloodthirsty chard to still a chard, still wants to fight, but is able to I don't want to say easily, but is able to control it like much better.
I almost think maybe it's not easily, but she does a much better job than the other chart that she freed. Obviously, they haven't.
Yeah, because she was like them at first, though. Because if you remember all the times that she, like when she got released, the first thing she did was attack Zellian, and like she was always trying to get at him. But like she's had emotional growth, I think, as well, which I think is important because she was able to see different kinds of strength. Like she realized that physical and martial prowess isn't the only measure of a person's strength, which I think was helpful. And then in this chapter, she's even able to feel, I don't know if I would go as far as empathy, but definitely some sympathy. Because she notes, I thought it was pretty significant when she noted, because she's following Rebecca, and Rebecca is going to the chamber where they make chard. And while she's following them, she's like, I wonder how the people who brought Rebecca here feel. Like, how do they feel to see their city under attack and are told to kill one captain?
Like the one is not. The ones that are not charred, you mean? Like the regular citizens?
Like the regular people, the regular whatever. And I thought that was very mature emotion or thought for her to have. Because, one, these are her enemies, and two, she has that maybe not bloodlust, but she just wants to fight and attack, and her mission is to save Rebecca, which is probably going to involve fighting, but she's able to kind of like, with all of that, still say like, oh, how do these people who are my enemies feel, which I thought was pretty significant. And I think also helps her with the chard, because there are a couple chard that she fights when she gets there, and she defeats them quite easily. And not because she's all of a sudden some master fighter, but because she's able to remain calm and not get sucked into wanting to fight. So
yeah, have you ever been in a situation, maybe not like a situation where you got to fight, but like a situation where like you kind of get that panic in you, and it's like suddenly you're totally incapable of rational thought?
I don't know if I have. Have you?
I think so, yeah. And it's weird. So anyway, all I'm saying is that it's very impressive that she's able to do that. She doesn't just panic.
Yeah, because she deals with the chard very easily, and then she goes into there to find Rebecca, and she's too late.
Which is almost a good thing.
It works out in the end, because she goes in there, and they're like starting to turn Rebecca into a chard, and I think she kind of freaks out. She's like, no. And she's able to stop the ceremony right before it goes all the way and burns everything away. But it does. The cinder heart does start to go into Rebecca. But she stops it, and then she does this she says this special prayer, where essentially she grabs Rebecca and sucks away whatever the crap is happening to Rebecca. Because even though it didn't go all the way in, it's still starting to burn away her personality and memories, in a sense to turn her to a chard.
Yeah.
But Elegy stops it. But she has to sacrifice, because she's like starting to not that she's remembering everything, but she kind of remembers a little bit about this chamber.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. She remembered like the sounds and the light. It was something like that.
Yeah.
Before she became a chard. And I was actually kind of excited at that part. I was like, oh, she's got some memories. So maybe
But
she'll get
then-
them back, but then before this chapter is even end, she's like,
Yeah,
Not
this
gonna get
this
it back.
burns all away, and Rebecca's even like, "Oh, you're remembering," and she's like, "Nope," and she even lies because Rebecca's like, "You saved me. You know who I am," and Rebecca lies and says, "Yep," which I think is another piece of growth that we can see from Elegy, because she's able to, I guess, think of Rebecca before herself and give her an answer that will help Rebecca, even though it's not true, and she doesn't see it as weakness to do so.
yes.
And we get a piece of art.
We
Elegy
do indeed.
hugging Rebecca.
They look similar.
Yes, they do.
Surprise.
They must be sisters.
I did not picture them. At least I didn't picture Rebecca like in this long, flowy dress.
Yeah, they kind of remind me of like old western. And also I read the postscript from Brandon, and he said even this had like a kind of like a western type influence.
Yeah, that's right.
So you can definitely see that. When we're looking back at the art, you're like, oh yeah, I can totally see that, and like the type of rifles they use. But yeah, so there's an interesting power that Rebecca gains. She is now able to, well, not yet, but eventually she's able to control the charge like the Cinder King does.
Yes, and I'm proud of myself. I had one prediction so far that came true. Like before this chapter, before I finished the book, I was like, oh man, Rebecca can feel the other charge, but she can't control them because the Cinder King is there. So like she's gonna take over the charge as soon as the Cinder King is.
Yep.
And it totally happened. So I was like, oh yeah, it's one for me.
But yes, so basically, to kind of wrap up chapter 50, so Rebecca is saved, but she has this new power. She has a cinder heart, and she can sense the Chard, and the Chard leave her alone, and she's kind of able to interact a little bit, but the Cinder King's will is too strong over them, so she can't completely take them over. And they say they need to take control of Union, and then 51 jumps us back to Zellion.
Poor freaking Zellion.
Yeah, he's getting his butt handed to him. And so he has like this aha moment, or he tries not to interpret it as an aha moment, but basically he's like, I can't fight, like I can't do anything. And he's like, wait, I've been able to fight, like this torment is not maybe not able to fight. Like, was I prepared for this fight? He's like, no.
Yeah, no, the torment's not a conscious thing. I do like during this fight, another one of my predictions came true that I mentioned several times throughout the episodes. But as soon as Zellion became like one of the people of this planet, I was like, oh man, the Cinder King's going to take his heat. That's exactly what happens. But luckily for him, it actually kind of is like reversed. And
Yeah, because
Zellion is able to
because
suck up his...
Zellion starts to grapple, and so because he has that weight thing on him, and so he decides to use that to his advantage, and so he grabs on to the Cinder King and starts to grapple. And his plan is not clear at first, but turns out to work out, because when he's grappling with the Cinder King, he is able to maneuver somehow so that they fall off Union and fall into the mud.
Yeah, I think he literally just like grabbed him. I don't think he actually like hugged him, but he grabbed him and then just kind of fell off Beacon. And he was able to keep a strong enough of a grip that the Cinder King couldn't break it.
Yeah. Because he said, Zellion says, thank you for turning us around. So it just seems like Zellion didn't really do anything. He just kind of, since he's the more experienced fighter, was able to manipulate it in such a way that, position, I guess. But yeah, so they fall to the ground. And then basically the Cinder King just starts punching Zellion. He falls down, gets up, punch, falls down, gets up. And he just starts repeating that. And then we get a flashback to Elegy and Rebecca. And Elegy and Rebecca's their plan. They go to the central command station, and they see the screen. They see him fighting and getting down and getting up, falling down, getting up.
Yeah, because they go in there and all the people in there are watching the fight that the Cinder King
I
is
think there's only a few of
broadcasting.
them, like 3 or 4.
Yeah, not a
4 or
ton.
5 of them or something like that.
There's a small crew piloting or whatever.
But it's interesting because we get, I think a lot of tyrants, their people are like this, but maybe the tyrant doesn't fully realize it. But the tyrants are 100, or not the tyrant, the people are 100% aware that the Cinder King weakens someone before he fights them and tries to play it off as they're at full strength.
Yeah,
and so
it's
they're
not
like,
the first time he's
like,
done it. He's did it with
this
the
is
Chard.
always how it's been. And then the Rebecca tries to convince Elegy to be like, you should motivate these people. And Elegy's like, that's not who I am. You do it. And then Rebecca delivers a speech. A powerful speech.
I liked this part for Rebecca just because it showed more of her growth and like the direction that she is going and where she's meant to be. Whereas like maybe LG is just going to be maybe more of a protector of the people, but she can't deliver these moving speeches and stuff. But Rebecca proves herself quite capable.
Yeah. So she delivers a speech, and essentially she's saying, Zelian is giving us a chance. All we have to do literally is fly away, and the Cinder King will be able to do diddly biddly about it. And they're like, no, the Chard will attack us. And then she shows her Cinder Heart, and she says, I can control the Chard. And then he's basically, and then she tells him, they tell them that we can recharge sunlight, that we can recharge sun hearts. And she kind of goes on. Let's see, there was one part. Yeah, I'm just going to quote it. So Rebecca says, I know what it's like to feel powerless. I know you felt it, watching what he's done to the city, to people you love. You've cowered before him because there was no other option. But today you have a choice. Steer us away. Leave him. I am the sunlit one. I control the Chard now. And I have come to bring you freedom. I offer you this, but do not demand. I will not force you because the world is changing. Today we make choices. Please. I think the reason why this type of speech worked, or more appealing to, like, let's be free, let's no more pain, no more sacrificing, no more sufferings. I think these people on Canticle are, we've talked about this a lot, they're just naturally, like, really peaceful and cooperative and really, like, tight-knit. And so to have someone like the Cinder King come in, I think it's early enough in his reign where the people haven't been corrupted yet. Like, they live in fear and they do what he says, but they're not, the people of Union aren't evil like the Cinder King is.
Yeah. I think that Rebecca, coupled with maybe like the greater good, they're all going to be able to accomplish more than the Cinder King was able to, because he was just a tyrant who wanted to gain power, whereas like these guys maybe want to, they don't want to gain power, but they want to improve the life. So I think they'll get like the loyalty of the people, and who are going, because I've always seen I've seen this both in other people and in myself, where like if you got someone over you who's like a jerk, you do not go above and beyond for those people. But if you have someone like, hey, this person's a really good person, they're trying to do good and blah blah blah, then you will do little things to go above and beyond. So I mean, like, just these people were able to maintain the ships they have. Maybe they're going to be able to do more. Maybe they're going to be able to actually build settlements that maybe put a shield up during the day or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
Or maybe they'll just improve everything.
Especially now they don't have to sacrifice their people.
Yes.
They can just recharge.
It probably would be a lot easier to just open your front door and place the heart out, kind of like the Stormlight spheres.
Oh yeah, this is a different kind of storm.
But either way, they've got it a lot easier.
Her speech is enough, and they decide to fly away. So the Union leaves, and the Cinder King kind of freaks out.
Yeah.
Not like fully. He kind of like just gets, I guess, more angry. And he basically, so he tries to kind of jog after it, but then he quickly realizes, like, there's no freaking way. And then he comes back to Zelian, and he's like, give me your armor, because he knows that Shard Plate can survive.
Yeah, and he's still, like, so stupid, if you ask me. Like, he doesn't be like, please, I'm sorry what I did, or like, spare me, or whatever. No, he just like, give me your armor.
Yeah.
As if, because I mean, like, he still has this belief that just because he's whooping on Zelian that he is in control and has the power. But
yeah,
he's a foolish.
But then Zelian's like, I can't, it's not coming back. And he's like, then I'll kill you. And he's like, then you'll die too. He's like, no, because I know that your blade will appear next to you and I'll use it. And Zelian's like, oh crap, yeah, that's true.
I hate that he knows that.
And then this is when the Cinder King, what you were talking about earlier, where he tries to like take his heat, but then something like you said. So basically, the Cinder King starts to try to take Zelian's heat to kill him, but then Zelian kind of rallies, thinks of his promise to Ox of saving the people, and then he's able to, in turn, he grabs the Cinder King by the wrists and whispers the prayer of the Bold One on the threshold of death, give me your heat, that it may bless those who still deserve it. And then he takes the heat. But because he takes the Cinder King's heat, but because of the nature of Zelian and since he held the Dawn Shard, he's able to absorb investiture. He doesn't just take the Cinder King's heat, he takes all of his investiture, which is apparently a crap ton.
Yeah, because he mentions later that he knows it's more than enough to make the skip. He's at 100% plus
and
skip
he
capacity.
skips.
Yeah.
So he absorbs it all. He skips away.
Right as the sun,
The
like
sun
he's.
comes.
It seems like he stays long enough. He stays long enough to deliver like, you're about to experience the most beautiful sunset of your life.
Yes, and then
But then it seems like as the Cinder King's burning up, he skips.
Yeah.
Which I thought for some reason I thought he needed something, but apparently he's got the power within himself to
He's got the
just
power
skip.
to just do it. So he skips. Cinder King burns away and dies, and we get a little piece of art of them fighting, with Union fading away in the distance. And that takes us to the epilogue.
It's kind of funny how it seems like in Brandon's books, it's always like so fast paced for the last few chapters and everything. But man, this one felt like super fast and suddenly just abruptly ended. It's like, and then Zellion's gone. It's like, oh, he didn't even say bye.
And it almost because because it jumps back to Zellion a little bit where he goes. And
Yes, because actually,
I think it's
before we get into
intentional
that, like when the chapter 52 ended, I was kind of like, wait a minute, what happened to all the people at Beacon? Because he left. Did his shard blade go with him?
Yeah. So
I was like,
apparently
how the
he
heck
can
did he
control it across
the freaking
infinite amount of time,
cosmere?
apparently. I don't know how far he jumped, but yeah, he jumped to somewhere and ended up on some random island, and kind of like counted in his head. He's like, okay, I think it's safe now, and then he summoned Ox back. But yeah, so the epilogue, however, starts with Elegy and Rebecca, and they find the Beaconites. They share the truth. It's kind of like a kumbaya.
It's like both thing. Like the greater good comes up like, there's a way to charge the sun. I'm like, we know, he told us to. So
Yeah, so there's like that, and then they say that we're already reaching out to other settlements because everyone needs to know about this. We're not going to keep it a secret, which is good.
yeah,
But
thank
then-
goodness they do not share the same views as those
Yes.
stupid Scadrians.
Yes. And then Rebecca now fully controls the Chard because the Cinder King is burnt
dead.
up.
And he was, I like the line too. I don't remember who said it, but they were like saying like, oh, the Cinder King's heart, his sun heart will be the last that will ever made. It was kind of like
That last
like
sacrifice.
ironic or whatever.
Yeah. But their plan is basically to slowly release the Chard and make them like Elegy, and then give them the choice to be protectors or leave or do what they want or kind of be their own people. And then we get a little more insight into the Night Brigade, which I thought was very interesting, because the Night Brigade, they sent spies out and they found out that Zellion did come there. People didn't really know any information, and they are cousins to the Threadites.
Yes.
And they use shades with red eyes and armor to watch it. Were they wearing armor?
I don't remember, but they seem to have found a way to use the shades more so than even these.
And they even have the same kind of
Beaconites.
names. Like the guy we know, his name is Truth is Waiting. Is his name. Staff Sergeant Truth is Waiting.
Yeah.
Oh, just uniforms. Two shades with glowing red eyes bearing the uniforms they'd been wearing when they died. So they're wearing uniforms.
But still,
Yeah.
they don't need armor anyway.
And they have red eyes and they're not attacking. So they're and it
Yeah,
says the admiral needs no vocal command. She kind of just controls them. So she controls them somehow, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah. I was a little surprised that we didn't see anything from the Night Brigade until the end.
You probably would have added too much complexity because the Night Brigade is just so far technologically advanced than
Yeah.
anything on Canticle that I think any confrontation between them and
It would have just not
Zellion
have been
would
a
have been, like,
competition.
probably like way too much. That's probably like the real reason. I could be totally wrong. I don't want to put words in Brandon's mouth, but it could also be that everything happened so quickly. Like they got there, all of this resolved, and Zellion left before they could really do anything. But they also discovered the Scadrian ship.
Yes, they knew the Scadrians were there.
Yes, and they're like, the Scadrians are here, and they had Zellion and didn't tell us. And then it very strongly implies that they're going to attack and most likely kill the Scadrians and
Yeah.
use their technology to review video footage of Sigzil.
Yeah, so very interesting there.
So
Those Scadrians deserve to die.
I knew you were going to say that. And yeah, then that's kind of how it ends. One last thing to mention I thought was interesting. So right after when Sigzil resummons Ox to his side, he's able to flag down
There's a boat.
Then they said that they turned out to be Shodel. And
Oh yeah, that's
apparently
right.
they're someone off of Yolen, which is Hoid's home planet. So
Right. So did it sound like to you? I was thinking originally that he was on Yolen, but maybe he's somewhere
No,
else. But
no,
there
it
is.
says the people crewing it turned out to be Shodel of all things. He hadn't known there were any enclaves of them off Yolen.
Oh yeah, that's right. He says off Yolen.
Yeah, so I don't think he's on Yolen.
So that there's the, I guess the fourth group of people who can travel beyond their own planet. There's the Rosharans, Scadrians, the Threnodites, and now, well, would you consider the Threnodites? Or I guess the Night Brigades.
Also, at least some people from Tress's planet. I don't know if it's like a planet-wide thing, but that one guy from the Wax and Wayne trilogy that was from there.
I totally missed that. Who was that? Who's the one guy you saw there?
So
What are you talking about? There's a guy in. I'm confused. What story?
in the Lost Metal.
So he's in Tress. You're talking about?
No, he's from Tress's planet, but he's not in Tress's story.
Oh, but he's in.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just confused.
Remember, he feeds the spores to make crystal.
I thought you were talking
mass.
about like one of the guys that is on the ship that's from Yolen
No.
was on. So I was just getting
We don't know
confused.
anything about those people.
I was confused as where the heck you were coming from.
Yeah. But the postscript was pretty good. I liked Brandon's explanation of the secret projects because he said the first 3 were kind of just stories that he wanted to do, and 2 of them were for his wife. One was just like to try out, and then he said he wanted this 4th one to be like Cosmere rich, essentially. Like,
And it certainly flipping was. Holy cow!
Yeah, so he wanted a lot of that, and he also said that Zellian was a name he always liked, and I thought it was interesting. He mentioned that that's a common video game username he'll do.
Yeah.
Zellian. So I thought that was kind of cool. And he mentioned that Zellian will return, but it probably won't be the main focus of a story again like he was here.
We do know that he will, sort of, at least, because we still got Stormlight 5, so we'll see him there. But
he still is not Zellian.
that's kind of like going, yeah, it's true.
But I'm curious what the bridge is going to be like. I wonder if it's going to end, and then we're still not going to know how he gets from Sigzil to Sigzil Zellian Nomad.
Yeah.
Or if that's going to end with him getting the Dawn Shard and doing all sorts of crap. But
yeah, I was a little sad with Zellian's ending. I was kind of hoping that by the end of this he would have gotten out of his rut or whatever you want to call it, with him having to keep constantly running away.
He can fight now, so maybe won't be as desperate.
Yeah,
and
but do we even know? Did his torment just prevent him from fighting as soon as he got to Canticle, or has it been like since he lost the Dawn Shard till this point he's not been able to
the Dawn Shard
fight?
itself prevented him from fighting because it was.
Oh, that's right, because it was one of those.
And then when he got rid of it, it scarred him in a way that still kept that aspect.
That's right.
So he got rid of that, which I don't, because he also said that the reason the Night Brigade was trying to track him down is because he was still somehow not necessarily connected, but that you could find the Dawn Shard through him.
Right.
But I wonder if he was able to take that out of him because he cured the torment, and I thought the torment was what preventing him from fighting, but was also the link to the Dawn Shard. So I wonder if they can even find the Dawn Shard anymore if they find Zellian.
Yeah, maybe not.
But whatever the case, it sounds like he's still gonna be running around.
Yeah, because he says like at the end of when he skips, he's like his journey continues, and then he even says like at the end of his thing in the epilogue, he says, what did he say exactly? It was something that's like it was time to start running again, and that's how the book ends. I was like, oh, that, I don't know, that would stress me out, especially after like he's already been going through decades of running. That he talked about how stressful it was, and then he finally like kind of connects to the people in Canticle and Canticle itself, and becomes like a citizen and stuff. And now he has to drop all that and keep running.
Yeah,
that would be stressful and suck a lot. I really was happy with Elegy's ending. It's like there was a funny part where like that she was thinking about how like they'd survived like an entire half rotation in the sun, and they'd survived, and she stood there grinning, practicing her normal emotions. So she's like practicing and stuff. But then I loved what she said at the end of their little section, that she talked about how she hopes that she'll still be able to fight, but She was just going to have to find a new emotion and activities to enjoy. And instead of feeling like, oh, that really kind of sucks, she looked at it as like, it's a new adventure. It's an adventure. So I thought that was really cool. And I think Elegy is going to continue to really progress, and she's going to become normal again eventually. And probably I think she'll play a huge role in like teaching the other Chard.
I can see that for sure.
Sorry, like their ending, but
yeah. So I don't know if we'll ever see Canticle or Canticleites ever again.
yeah, he did say. I think it was just more specifically about Zellion, but he said he can't promise that he'll ever write another story, but it's possible. But yeah, there's no guarantee.
But yeah, good book. A lot of Cosmere stuff. Super exciting. I don't know really what else to talk about this book.
Let's talk about this. Do you have a favorite of the 4 Sacred Projects?
If I had to pick, they were all so good, but if I had to pick, I'd probably go with Frugal Wizard.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one.
I think, oh man, I really liked Sunlit Man, but I think the reason I liked it so much is just because it seemed like there was just so many gold nuggets throughout the book. But I think Tress was my favorite. That was just like such a classic adventure type book that just like.
That's true. That was really good.
I think maybe down the road I might reread all of these Secret Projects, but I could see myself wanting to reread Tress.
Yeah, it's been like a year since we read it. So.
Yeah, literally. Because actually, this is interesting. I think because I think our first episode was on like January 11th. It's January 5th, but by the time it comes out, it's gonna be like the 11th. Oh, that reminds me. I was gonna buy I wanted to be like Fred and George off of Harry Potter and like have little fireworks, pew, 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 because we did 50 episodes. Hey.
Yeah, a good year. A good year of Sanderson. We'll have to think about what we're gonna do. We'll wait for Stormlight 5 to come out. Probably do some other books. If any of our viewers have suggestions.
Yes.
Maybe one of your
Otherwise, we'll just pick. We might do another Brandon Sanderson book. We might do something different.
We might do something completely different.
There's so many Sanderson books we could go into.
We could go and we could spend our whole lives just talking about Brandon Sanderson.
Seriously. Which I think is awesome because how many people out there have spent the last 20 years just dissecting every minute detail about Harry Potter, even though it's only a 7-book series. And J.K. Rowling did a really good job writing that book, I think, even though there's some flaws and stuff. But Brandon puts so much more into his books than
there's
most
just something
authors.
about Harry Potter that just worked. It was perfect timing.
Yeah,
it was just such a good story, and she's doing a really good job at keeping it going and doing things to make it so that Potterheads like you and I, who are now grown up, want to pass it on to our kids. For Christmas, my wife and I got the illustrated version of the Sorcerer's Stone, and we're reading it every night to our kids, and they love it. Yeah. So it's we're creating a whole new generation of Harry Potter people.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny how that kind of circulates, because when we grew up, we read the classic stories about Jack and the Giant Beanstalk and Rumpelstiltskin and Rapunzel and stuff like that. But now we got new classics.
I know Harry Potter is for sure. I like that a lot. The only thing I regret that my kids will never feel is the pure excitement of a new Harry Potter movie coming out in theaters.
Oh yeah.
And then just the atmosphere of going, and then just everyone just so pumped, and the whole theater just so excited, and just that electricity. And
I have the sad that is super sad. And you know what?
I don't really feel that for movies anymore.
I don't feel that either for movies anymore. It's I kind of feel oh, this movie's come out, that's cool, I'll go see it. Yeah. But man, it was Christmas when the next Harry Potter movie came out. You're just I need to see it now, and it was this big thing.
The Harry Potter books, man, they were just I still feel that way for books, especially Brandon Sanderson books. But I mean, I remember because we didn't have online books, going to Barnes and Noble, and
it was a whole big deal too.
And it's everyone dressing up like Harry Potter. It was oh man, it was just what a time to be a kid reading a book.
Yeah,
they just have the whole. It seemed the whole world just loved Harry Potter.
Yeah,
I saw this meme that was interesting, where in the book it said Dumbledore says, not everyone in our world will know his name, and then J.K. Rowling's I had no idea that would actually become true.
Actually, I didn't think about that. But it's true.
Harry Potter is definitely one of those things that everyone's at least heard the name Harry Potter and knows
Yeah.
that it's like a popular book.
I think it's rare to run into someone who hasn't read the books, and even more rare to someone who hasn't seen the movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I remember growing up, I don't know if we talked about this when we first started this podcast, but it was kind of a big deal to go to Barnes & Noble, because a little history for us is like, about us, is we lived out like in the middle of nowhere. And I think the closest Barnes & Noble was like 45 minutes away. So it wasn't just like a quick drive to the next town over
Yeah,
or
it wasn't
something.
this
We
whole
had to
thing.
get, and
When you're a kid, 45 minutes is like
that's
freaking half
so
your
long.
life.
We had to grow up and learn patience like no kid these days
I
will.
know, man. I can still remember those. I've driven out to our house several times since being an adult, and it's like not that long. But like as a kid, I still have memories of it being like, it felt like hours.
Literally felt like hours, even
Just
though it was 30,
hilarious.
45 minutes, something like that, depending on where we went.
Mm.
But I remember like one of the things that helped us survive that too, that like kids these days, maybe your kids will experience this since you're raising them to read and everything. But like kids these days probably just like have an iPad, or they take their parents' phone and then they're on their phone.
Yeah. Well, we
or
read books.
what we read.
Yeah, I remember reading Harry Potter. I remember reading Aragon. I remember reading like the Treehouse books.
We probably
Like
read
a
the
bunch of
Pendragon
different
books on our
Like
drives.
I remember, like I would get so sucked in that I would like almost suck to like get to our destination or at home because I'd be like so
Right.
into the story.
Yeah, I remember like it happened all the time where we would get into that flow, into the zone of reading, get to like a good part, and we'd get home and we would go inside. We'd pause long enough to just get inside, and then we would finish
Yeah.
reading.
Well, thanks for the year of Brandon Sanderson. Brandon Sanderson.
The year Branderson.
And for joining us. It was fun. It was a blast. Be sure to stick around. Keep your eyes open. We'll be
here for another year.
We'll be bringing some more stuff your way. We might jump away from the Cosmere for a little bit, give it some time to breathe, and then jump full on when Stormlight 5 comes out. We'll
Yes.
see what happens. Again, if there's any suggestions, we're happy to check out if maybe you have a favorite book you would like to suggest. If not, we'll pick one of our favorites, and trust me, there are many. So,
There aren't many.
yeah, thanks for joining us.
Until
Year of
next
Sanderson
time.
in the books. We'll see what comes next. Goodbye. It's over.